And I agree 100%. It's a healthy competition. And if there is no competition, then people stay where they're at, right? It drives me, and I know it drives her. If she hits the board, I want to hit the board. If I hit the board, I know she wants to hit the board. So it's awesome. And if we didn't have this competition, I mean, I don't know if our teams would be where we're at now. So I'm always happy to have that healthy competition with everybody, and it just brings the hierarchy to a higher level as well. So today I'm going to go over some adjustments that Shaq has been making to the presentation to help people become more streamlined, right? He was talking with us yesterday on Friday training about making these new adjustments to help people get to the point of just kind of maybe not shortening the presentation, but making it more streamlined across the hierarchy, and allowing people to get to the points to where they can close, they can make money, we can duplicate, we can have multiple people writing sales every single day, right? He was saying that if everybody can master this, instead of just one or two people closing a sale a day, we can have 3, 4, 5, 6 people on our teams closing sales every day. So I'm really excited about this, and I think that he's put a lot of effort and thought into it. And if we just buy into whatever the coach calls, the play that the coach calls, then we can all be successful as a hierarchy. And he did mention it yesterday too, that a lot of times people don't like change is tough sometimes if you've been comfortable with one thing or the other. But I think that he's put a lot of thought into this, and Shaq doesn't change whenever he wants. He only makes a change if he thinks it's going to be better for the hierarchy overall. So I am excited about implementing this and helping people learn it, and just listening to our coach and following his lead. So let's see. All right. So when we kind of look at this to preface it, previously when we start off when we go through the presentation, right, the typical or normal fintech presentation, there's usually a process. We're going to start with the information about the company, the credibility, and then eventually we get to the financial house and helping the family look at the importance of those various levels. So once we get into the income protection presentation, we usually go through the 4 quadrants, and the order is we want to explain the information, obviously figure out where they're at, if they have group, if they have private coverage. He did say yesterday that if you have no coverage or group insurance, that's a completely different presentation than if somebody has a policy, like a private policy. It's a lot of the fundamentals are the same, but the way that we're going to go about the appointment is going to be a little different. So those are just 2 ways that we're going to learn as a hierarchy how to go through the presentation. But as far as when we're getting to the point of calculating or helping the family see the need and calculating how much coverage they may need, and just understanding the importance of having income protection, I feel that this shift from doing DIME and the theory separately to kind of doing it together kind of creates a better image in the client's mind. So Shaq said that if they now see this and we're asking these right questions, everything becomes real. It's real. It's no longer this conversation of, oh, you should have life insurance because of this. These questions are going to kind of put them on edge and actually start thinking about what actually would happen if they were no longer here, and why we believe in what we believe when we're educating families. So let's get right into it. So what I'm gonna do is go through the questions first on the slides throughout the theory, and then after that I'm gonna bring up the actual theory of decreasing responsibility slides and then run through it how it's supposed to be run through that way. So if you can give me a second here. Awesome. So let's say we go through, now we figure out the need, maybe we get some commitments if they have private coverage or if they have no coverage, and they agree that it is important and they would be open to setting aside money monthly if it was affordable, and we get those commitments. So then we usually transition into helping people calculate how much. So we're still going to start off with the same question, asking, has anyone ever showed you how to determine how much coverage you may need? Most clients are going to say, no, not really. And so with that, then we're going to continue through. Now we're going to bring up the theory instead of the dime slides. The dime slide is going to be removed completely. So let's start off. In the theory of decreasing responsibility, when you look at it, typically in the early years, we usually have high responsibilities like kids, debt, the mortgage. But in that situation, we usually don't have a lot of money saved up, right? And they'll usually say yes. Now, hey Jen, when I go through some of these, could you role play with me?
Yeah.
All right. So then the first question after we say that, we're going to get them thinking about how much do they have saved. So Jen, if you were to estimate just rough numbers, how much would you say you have saved up total? Like, for example, 401ks, IRAs, emergency fund, your checking account, stocks, bonds, any type of investments or assets. How much would you think you have saved up total?
401, probably like 10. Checking. I'm not really good at saving, for that. Say like 1,000, maybe like let's say 20. Let's say 20,000.
20,000. Okay, awesome. So we got that. Now, let's say for children, right? If anything were to happen to you, I know there's a little, I know there's no Jen Juniors, but maybe Benjamin Jr., right? So if anything were to happen to you, would you want to set aside money for your kids' college education?
Yes, definitely.
And their names again, like we're Ben, right? Ben Jr.
Yeah, Ben. Yep.
Okay,
Ben.
awesome. And how old is he?
He's 4.
4. Okay, awesome, awesome. So next thing, obviously we mentioned debt. So would you, if anything, God forbid, was to happen to you, would you want your debt and mortgage to be taken care of?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and roughly, if that was the case, how much would that be?
Oh, I know that. 280.
280. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Now, when you look at it on a monthly basis, if you were to take care of all of your expenses, how much income would you need to take care of that?
All my monthly expenses.
Yeah.
Maybe minimum 4.
4. Okay.
Yeah. 45.
4 to 4,500. Okay. Perfect. So let's look at it. So if we think about just on a day-to-day, we're talking about this theory, right? In the early years, we don't have a lot of money saved up, but we have all of those responsibilities that we just discussed. So if we have 4,000 a month of expenses times 12, that's 48,000 a year. So almost 50,000 a year. As you said, currently you have about 20,000 in assets, right? So how long would that 20,000 last your family to take care of all of your expenses?
Oh, not even a year.
Not even a year. Maybe 6 months, right?
Right.
So, and what happens when that money runs out?
I don't know. I don't want to think about that.
Right. So that's why we say in the early years, because we have no savings and we have all of those responsibilities, that we need to have coverage. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So let's say now fast forward, right? Fast forward 15, 30 years from now, what's going to be your major focus financially?
Vacationing.
Right, exactly.
Retiring.
Vacation, retirement, all of those major areas, right? And I mean, you said that Ben Jr. is 4, so he'd be like what, in his 20s or 30s?
Yeah.
Is he still dependent on you?
He's out of my house.
Not at all, right? And should your debt and should your mortgage be paid off by then?
It should be almost, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So at that point, now we have lower responsibilities. And when we think about our assets, if we are gonna retire and vacation, you can't only have 20,000, right? Right. So that's gonna grow. When we think about compound interest, your assets have grown by now, right? And you're gonna probably start saving more when we teach you how to do that. So now we get to the point of having millions, right? And if we have millions and we have all of these assets here, if God forbid you passed away, who's going to get that money now?
Ben.
Ben, right? So at that point, do you still need to be paying for a life insurance policy?
No, not really.
Exactly, right? So now the assets are going to take care of your family if God forbid anything was to happen. So think about it. Bill Gates, does he need life insurance?
No, that guy is set.
He's set, right? He has a lot of money. So we want to help people get to that point as well, to where they have enough assets so you no longer need the life insurance. Now think about it. With our car insurance, our homeowner's insurance, do we want to pay for those things our whole life?
No.
No, right? So it's the same thing when we think about our insurance. We just need to protect ourselves for a period of time. So doesn't it make sense to invest for our life insurance to protect our family just for a period of time until we can grow our assets and become self-insured?
Yes.
Perfect. So when we think about that, right, what's the purpose of our auto and homeowners insurance?
If something happens, then my car gets fixed or replaced.
Right.
If something happens to the house, they fix it.
Right, exactly. So something happens, it gets taken care of. So if something happened to your car, you'd want to replace all of it, right?
Yes.
If something happens to your home, you would want to replace all of it, right?
Yes.
Hopefully not just like half, like the kitchen.
Right.
So with that, if something happened to you, how much of your income would you want your family to have?
I mean, all of it.
All of it, right? So, I mean, wouldn't it make sense to just use 2% of our income to protect? 2% of our income to protect 100% of our income for our family?
Yes.
Right. So now we transition into the next part of the presentation, usually where we're talking about the money commitment. So Jen, since we're just replacing your income, how much would you feel that you could comfortably put towards this on a monthly basis to make sure your family is properly protected? I'll give you a couple benchmarks: 50 to 100 a month, 100 to 200, or 200 plus.
I can do 100 to 200.
100 to 200. Okay, perfect. And as long as we found an option that fit within that range, I mean, it wouldn't be stressful on your budget currently.
Yeah, I mean, I could do 100 to 150 maybe, but no, that's comfortable. That's fine. I could do that.
Okay, perfect. 100 to 150. So, in order for me to give you an accurate quote, I just got to ask you a couple quick questions, right? So, in this situation, we usually want to ask some of the medical questions, is what Shaq was saying. Depending on how you guys feel, you can ask more questions, you can ask less questions. Sometimes people may feel a little awkward asking these questions, but if you don't want to waste time, you need to know what's going on with the client. And you need to kind of figure out, because I mean, I know that there's been plenty of times where, and because it's happened to me, that we set maybe a carryback, or we're like, hey, we're about to quote this person. They said, Jen said 100 to 150, super excited. And now we run the numbers, and then they say later on or during the application that they have some type of medical concern. So we want to know these things up front before we run the quote, and then we can go into it. So a couple questions that these are all going to be on our new data collection that Shaq is working on. So we're going to ask the date of birth. So what's your birthday, Jen?
March 26, 1991.
Okay, perfect. And have you ever had trouble qualifying for life insurance before?
No, I never tried.
Okay, perfect. And do you have any significant medical history, like cancer, heart attack, diabetes, anything like that?
No.
No?
But I know of.
Perfect. And then any tobacco use, hookah, e-cigs, the past 12 months or 5 years?
Nope, that's all disgusting. Nope.
Okay, perfect. And then any medications at all? High blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, anxiety, mental, nervous disorders, anything in the past 10 years?
Dude, not yet. Just joking. No, none.
Good. So pretty healthy, relatively. Now, outside of that, 2 or more speeding or moving violations in the past 3 years?
Nope.
Oh yeah, because you said you don't drive, right? Perfect. And then any parents pass away prior to 65 due to cardiovascular illness or cancer?
Nope.
No. Any dangerous recreational activities like flying, racing, scuba diving, anything like that?
No, I don't do that yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm terribly afraid of heights, so I don't think I would do a lot of this. And I know it's fun. So, with that, the last thing is just height and weight. And so height and weight, sometimes if you don't feel comfortable asking and you can just see the person, like on Zoom, sometimes you can only see someone's head. So then it's like really hard to tell. So you might need to ask. But if you can actually see them and they look physically fit, you may not need to ask their height and weight. But if you can, and no offense to people, but if you can see that they may look a little overweight, you may want to ask as well, right? So those are just some questions. And then once we ask those questions, then now we can give the triplicate of choice, their quotes, and then go into the normal process close like we did previously. So those are all the questions. What I'm going to do now is just pull up the actual theory and then just put the questions in with the slides so you guys can kind of see exactly where that lines up. All right, guys. Okay. All right. So here, all right, Jen. So has anyone ever showed you how to calculate how much or determine how much coverage you may need?
No, not really.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I'm going to go through a concept that we call the theory of decreasing responsibility. So typically in the early years, we usually we have high responsibilities like young children, debt, and a mortgage, but we may not have a lot of money saved up yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And if we were to estimate rough numbers, how much would you say you have saved up total, like 401ks, IRAs, emergency fund, your checking account?
Probably like 20,000 or less.
Okay, so let's say 20,000, right? And then if anything were to happen to you, would you want your kids' college education or money to be set aside for your kids' college education?
Yeah.
Okay, and what are their names again?
Oh, Benjamin.
Benjamin.
And Trayvon.
Okay, and Trayvon. How do you spell Trayvon?
Traevon.
All right, perfect. And then how old are they now?
They're 4 and 2.
Okay, perfect. And then let's say debt is the next situation. So would you want your debt to be taken care of and your mortgage?
Yes.
Okay, and roughly how much would you say that would be?
Probably definitely 280.
280? Okay, awesome. So when we look at that situation, on a monthly basis, how much would you say you need to take care of all of your monthly expenses?
I would say 4,500.
Okay, awesome. So that's the income. Now, let's say, for example, we're looking at this scenario, you have 20,000 set aside as assets, and you have 4 to 4,500 that you need every month, which if we calculate over the year, that's about 50,000. So how long would that 20,000 last your family?
Not even a year.
Not even a year. And what happens when that money runs out?
I don't know what they would do because no, I mean it's not gonna be good.
Exactly, right? So can you see why, because we have low savings here, we need to have a lot of coverage in the early years?
Yeah.
Awesome. Now let's fast forward. Fast forward now, 15, 30 years, what's going to be your major focus?
I'm going to be traveling the world and retiring.
Perfect. So now we're at retirement. And at retirement, how old will Ben and Trayvon be now?
Like maybe way older. Just way older, out of my house.
Right, 20s, 30s, right? So the children are grown, and your debt and your mortgage should be paid off, right?
Yes, definitely.
So that's taken care of. But if we're gonna retire, what do you need to have a lot of?
Money.
Right. So in the later years, we better have the money. So we can't only have 2,000, but with compound interest now, we have millions,
Mm.
right? And once we get to the point to where we have all of our assets here, if God forbid you pass away, who's gonna get these millions?
Those two.
Right, Ben and Trayvon. So at this point, do you still need to be paying for a life insurance policy?
No.
No, now the need for the life insurance has decreased. So think about Bill Gates. Does he need life insurance right now?
No.
No. Think about car insurance and homeowners insurance. Do we want to pay for that stuff our whole lives?
Mm-mm.
No, usually not. So doesn't it make sense to invest for our life insurance to protect our family for this period of time until we can get our assets grown?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So when you think about insurance overall, like what's the purpose of auto and home insurance?
To make sure that if I get into an accident or something happens to the house, and then it'll be taken care of.
Exactly, right? So, and if something happens to your car, something happens to your home, you would want all of your car and all of your home replaced, right?
Yes.
Exactly. So if something happened to you, how much of your income would you want your family to have?
All of it.
All of it. So wouldn't it make sense to just use 2% of your income to protect 100% of your income to your family?
Yes.
Awesome. So now that we've kind of seen the need, right, we just have to figure out the balance between what we need and what we can afford. So since we would be replacing your income, how much do you feel you can comfortably put towards your income protection on a monthly basis? And I'll give you a couple benchmarks: 50 to 100, 100 to 200, or 200 plus.
Probably like 100 to 200.
100 to 200. Okay, perfect. So if that was the case, there wouldn't be any stress on your budget. That's doable.
Somebody needs to pick themselves.
Hold on, let me try to find it.
A lot of moving around.
So would you have any concerns for that? I don't see anybody.
They're gone.
So yeah, so as long as it's between 100 to 200, then it'll be good.
Yes.
And would there be anything that would prevent you from taking care of that today if it fit within that range?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, perfect. So, I mean, in order for me to give you an accurate quote, we just need to ask you a couple questions. So, what's your birthday? And then you guys would just go through some of those medical questions.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's typically, I think, the process that Shaq would like to go through. Obviously, it's a kind of a rough draft. And I know that he'll make adjustments as he has all of us as field trainers going out and implementing it. Obviously, when there's changes, he's always open to feedback. Anything that you guys feel, if you guys feel that there's any just anything that you think could either improve it, or if there's any areas where it may be awkward for the client, so on and so forth. We're always open to feedback. But I think that overall, seeing this picture, that this can help clarify that image in the client's mind.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna open it up for questions. You guys can put your questions in the chat, and we can go ahead and get those answered for you guys.